What you're about to see is one of the most powerful moments we've had in Congress this year. Senator Ted Cruz just took a stand for women's sports and basic biological truth, and the left had no idea how to respond. This hearing exposed exactly how far the radical gender movement has gone and why it's time for every American to start paying attention. Before we break it down, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a real conservative voice cutting through the noise. Here's what happened.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Title IX was a landmark civil rights law. It helped create the incredible breadth of women's sports and girls' sports that we see across the country. I believe in girls' sports. I believe in women's sports. I'm the proud father of 2 daughters who are both athletes. I think participating in competitive sports is a wonderful thing for a young girl. I think it is a wonderful thing for a woman. And I think, unfortunately, today's Democrat Party has decided that women's sports and girls' sports no longer matters, and they're willing to push radical legislation designed to destroy girls' sports and women's sports. Ms. Gaines, I want to thank you for your courage. You are relatively young, but you have demonstrated incredible courage. And because you have dared to speak up, you have been demonized, you have been vilified. I saw when you were attacked by a leftist mob at San Francisco State University for daring to speak up. You had an incredible record as a swimmer at the University of Kentucky. You were a 2-time NCAA All-American. You were a 5-time SEC champion. You're an SEC record holder and a 2-time Olympic trial qualifier. But yet on March 27th, 2022, something changed. What happened on March 17th, 2022?
That's when Thomas and I raced in the 200 freestyle and again resulted in a tie.
And so you tied. What was the consequence of tying?
We went behind the awards podium where typically you're handed your trophy, you're marched out, you're named an All-American. And so we go back there and the official looks at both Thomas and myself and says, "Great job, but you guys tied. And we only have 1 trophy, therefore we're giving this trophy to Leah." And I question this and I say, why? And at first I shortened it in my testimony, but really he stumbled on his words. He didn't know how to answer this. And at first he's, well, we're just doing this in chronological order. To which I further pressed, and I said, okay, well, what are you being chronological about? Because we tied. And if we're doing this off alphabetical order, G comes before T, so what are you being chronological about? To which this wasn't a script they had prepared for him. And he actually appreciated his honesty. He did say, we have to give the trophy for Leah because Leah has to have it for pictures. They've made that clear. Leah has to have the trophy for pictures. You can pose with this trophy, but you have to give yours back. You have to go home empty-handed. Leah Thomas takes the trophy home, end of story.
Now let me ask you, as someone who's competed at the elite level, in your experience, is there a difference between women and men?
Of course. I think we learned this at a very young age, watching even 12 and unders play. Going through puberty causes irreversible advantage, that no matter the training, no matter the diet, no matter any alterable change you can make, will overcome that male advantage. Especially in sports like swimming, where lung capacity matters so much. Even something as silly as throat size, men have on average a 40% larger throat, which sounds like it's nothing, but when you're grasping for air, that 40% larger throat makes a huge difference in athletic success, not to mention height. You guys know the differences.
Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women...
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
What I can say is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place for the last decade, and when this competition happened,
I'm going to try again.
The rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes-no question. Do you believe there's a difference?
Oh, I think that we're talking about this case with the NCAA.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? Most people could answer this very simply. I'm curious if you're willing to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just putting it into the context of the conversation that we're having. I think that there are definitions related to sex.
Is that a yes? So I'm trying to get a yes or no. I'm not trying to get a speech. Is there a difference between women and men?
I think that there are definitions for biological sex.
Okay, so you're
which
not
is
answering
different
that.
than
Let me ask
gender.
you this question then. Why do women's sports exist? If you can't define a difference between women and men, why not abolish women's sports and just tell little girls to swim with little boys and see who wins?
Oh, I'm simply saying that that sex
My
is different
question,
than gender.
why
and I
do-
believe
why
that
do
women's
women's
sports
sports
have a great
exist?
value. I mean, Senator, I'll tell you right
Ms.
now.
Robinson, please answer the question I'm asking you.
Absolutely.
Why do women's sports exist?
I think that there are so many positive benefits to sports.
But
I mean,
why have a
we've talked
separate
about it here
category for
today.
women? If there's no difference between women and men, why to have women's sports?
I'm saying that there's a difference between sex and gender, and that the NCAA has rules in place, which they have for the last decade.
Mr. Chairman,
which
I
determine
would
that
like to enter into
related
the
to
record an
participation.
article from Duke Law called Comparing Athletic Performances for the Best Elite Women to Boys and Men. And it goes through examining in 2017 the top records for women in the world in various track and field events. So, for example, in the 100 meter, the top record for women in the world was 10.71 seconds. Now, that record for the number one woman in the world in 2017 was, in the year 2017, broken by 124 boys under 18. In that same year, the record for the number one competing woman in the 100-meter dash in the world was broken by a total of 2,474 men. If the radical Democrat agenda to destroy girls' sports and women's sports succeeds, little girls will not have a chance to compete. So I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record.
Without objection. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, a recent
Senator Cruz opened by reminding everyone what Title IX actually stands for, a civil rights law that gave women equal opportunity in sports. It's the foundation that allowed generations of girls to compete, to achieve, to dream. But now, the same party that claims to defend women's rights is destroying them in the name of inclusion. Democrats are pushing policies that let biological men compete in women's sports, and Cruz made it clear, that's not equality, it's erasure. He then turned to swimmer Riley Gaines, who became a national figure after tying with transgender swimmer Leah Thomas at the NCAA championships. Gaines told her story, how she tied for 5th place only to be told that the single trophy had to go to Leah Thomas for the photo op. She asked why. The NCAA official couldn't even explain it, finally admitting they had to give it to Thomas for pictures. That's what women's sports have become, photo ops for political correctness. Gaines didn't hold back. She explained the clear biological advantages that men have: greater lung capacity, larger muscle mass, longer limbs, and higher bone density. No amount of hormone therapy can erase those differences. She spoke with honesty, not hate, but the truth itself has become controversial. And what did she get for standing up? She was attacked by a mob at San Francisco State University. That's the state of free speech for women who dare to speak out. Cruz then turned to Kelly Robinson from the Human Rights Campaign, and this is where it got embarrassing. He asked her a simple question: is there a difference between men and women? She couldn't answer it. She danced around the question, hiding behind policy talk about NCAA rules and gender identity. But Cruz pressed, if there's no difference between men and women, why do women's sports exist at all? She had no answer. None. Because deep down, even they know what they're saying doesn't make sense. Cruz wrapped up with facts the left can't ignore. He cited a Duke Law study showing that the world's top female track and field records, the absolute best women on the planet, have been beaten by hundreds of high school boys. That's not discrimination, it's biology. That's why women's sports are separate, because without that separation, there is no fairness. What this really means is simple. The left's war on truth has reached the point where they can't even define what a woman is. And if we don't stand up now, there won't be women's sports in 10 years. There'll just be politics wearing a jersey. Riley Gaines represents everything the feminist movement once stood for: fairness, courage, and equality of opportunity. The left doesn't hate her because she's wrong. They hate her because she's right. If you believe women's sports matter, if you believe in protecting the next generation of female athletes, then stand up. Share this video, talk about it, and let people know that the truth is still worth defending. I'll leave you with this. Fairness isn't hate. Biology isn't bigotry. And standing for truth, especially when it's unpopular, is what separates patriots from cowards. Stay tuned, because we're not backing down.